You're listening to episode 384 of the Major Issues Podcast, and on this episode, the Siege of Asgard begins, the conclusion of Dark Avengers. The Major Issues Podcast starts right now! Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason, and it's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
Yo, what's going on, everyone in comic book land? It's your boy A-Rob, the Marvel God, rocking the Hawkeye shirt today.
Gang, gang. My boy A-Rob is here in studio, and for good reason. We are here to tackle a Marvel crossover event from that's literally 15 years old. Can't believe how fast time has flown. This is piggybacking off of our Dark Avengers coverage that we did post Thunderbolts, because it felt like so much of Thunderbolts was taking from elements of Dark Avengers, but also I could totally see this same story as one of the next stories if Valentina has her way. I could totally see a situation where
I can definitely see Siege going down, especially with the Sentry being introduced in MCU with the other Thunderbolts. And, Norman Osborn isn't here yet, but someone can easily fill that spot. Yeah. Especially with Ironheart coming out, they're going to put some elements of Armor Wars in there. So, their Tony's tech is still out there. We can see another Iron Patriot.
And then, a lot of this was there's so much politics in this story, and there's so much optics in this story.
Yes.
And I feel like if it meant that she could get more money or more prestige or more power, Valentina would do a siege on Asgard. Like, she totally would turn this whole thing around and be like, who told them they could be there? Because they're in the MCU. They're in Broxton, right? They're in Sweden
Norway.
or whatever. Norway. They're in Norway, just chilling, right? Gods on Earth, just chilling until they don't want to chill. And I could totally see someone in the MCU making that case and being like, these guys are our friends until they're not, and then when they're not, who's gonna deal with them? So we might as well sneak attack them now. And they just don't belong here. They just don't belong here, kind of stuff. So as I'm reading this, not only am I getting like these flashes of what could possibly happen in the MCU if they wanted to tackle this story, but also like real world optics of how we are able to invade countries, and the narrative that we have to give that we are doing the right thing in these instances. Don't mind all the pictures that you see on the news and stuff. Just believe that we're doing what we're supposed to do. But I have to ask, had you read this story prior to covering it now?
Oh, yeah. I read this story several times. Like, I've watched motion comics on it. I read it. This story was a culmination of like almost 10 years of storytelling from like the early 2000s to 2010. Like this was it. The return of the big three and all the crazy crossover events leading up to this. This was a great story. It is a way to end the golden age, but start the heroic age of storytelling in Marvel. Like, it was just phenomenal.
It's one of those things where I must have read this story without the context of the overall universe, because I remember enjoying it when I first read it. But if you read it after Civil War, Secret Invasion, Dark Avengers,
Dark Reign, Dark Avengers,
this whole period of uneasiness ever since the Superhero Registration Act, right? The death of Captain America, all the stuff that happened with Tony and them just straight up taking over S.H.I.E.L.D. to make Hammer. This is the murky part of Marvel, almost even feeding to that fan base that wants more like edgier characters or darker characters and stuff. And like literally this ends with like the sun coming up over the horizon as some of our older characters that we know and love, but people like Tony Stark, people like Captain America, end up coming back. I was just saying that the return of these heroes, return of the heroes, the ones that were in the middle of the Civil War, really is the light coming over the edge of the horizon, right? Like, it really is the bright, shiny return. And I dug it. Like, I bought it. I bought all of it. And it was a really, really
I did too. Especially the splash pages that they had in like each comic. Like, it was just, you saw all the heroes on screen. You saw all the villains. You saw Sentry, you saw Thor. Just this comic took its time, especially with the art style.
A little bit of a spoiler alert, but my favorite part of the comic, well, I was talking about having a lack of context, right? My favorite part of this story is I had read up on Dark Avengers leading up to it. We just if you go back to the last couple of episodes, we broke down, I want to say, the first 12-ish issues of this story. And what's really interesting is that while Norman is doing his ascension and being very cold about, like, making rules and firing people and all that kind of stuff, every hero that he comes up against says, you know what, you got it now, but I'm gonna be there the day that your ass gets caught. And there's a moment where he gets caught and it cuts to all the heroes and they're like, told you, told you, told you, told you. Like, they're all celebrating, like, oh, I knew that time had to come. I knew that time had to come. You set your watch on Norman Osborn because, again, he's never going to be completely sane all the time. You can really just wait for that Titanic to hit the iceberg, basically. And a lot of people, from Cyclops to Maria Hill to the OG Captain Marvel, just let him fail. Let him fall on his face. Maria Hill got fired in Dark Avengers and is like, you know what? You got it. I'll see. Basically, I'll have my job in like another year when you mess all this completely up. So I really, really like that. But we can go ahead and get into our full spoiler-filled recap and review of this comic. I'm going to give the background of covering also the Cabal #1, which is basically the conversation that Norman has with his cabal of evildoers, and the conversation he has with Loki that leads up to the events of Siege. But if you're ready, we can go ahead and crack this wide open.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
All right, so our story starts off with Osborn sitting alone talking to himself, or more accurately, talking to the Goblin. He's checking things off his mental to-do list. Only one major item is left: Asgard. He hesitates. Gods are a bit above his weight class, but the Goblin urges him on. They don't belong here, Norman. You're doing the world a favor. Osborn thinks maybe he should loop in Loki, but the Goblin reminds him Loki is always playing his own game. So later, the Cabal meets at Avengers Tower. One seat is empty, Namor's. And Doom is late until he arrives via time cube because, fashionably late, Dr. Doom is going to be Dr. Doom.
Right.
He wastes no time demanding Osborn drop his campaign against Namor. Osborn pushes back, saying Namor betrayed him. Doom sees through it. He thinks Osborn is trying to replace Namor with someone more manageable, like Taskmaster, who just joined the table. Osborn tries to reframe things. He says Namor's still breathing because of Doom, out of respect, but Doom is not interested. If Osborn wants his cooperation, bring Namor back to the table. Osborn refuses, though. He expects equal footing. Doom doesn't buy it. You're not a king, Osborn, and the room goes quiet. And then Osborn calls in his ace, his quote-unquote friend. Now, they never actually show this, but it's Sentry, I believe, who blasts the living hell out of Doom. The Cabal jumps up. Loki quietly advises the Hood to leave. He's like, I think we should get out of here. Doom fires back, hitting Taskmaster square in the chest. Another blast drops Doom, but it's a Doom bot. It opens and it unleashes robotic insects that flood the tower. Osborn activates his armor and scrambles to contain the situation. The swarm spreads fast until the Sentry arrives and wipes out everything in seconds. One of the bots scuttles to Osborn and broadcasts Doom's voice. He calls Osborn reckless, telling him he's overextending. How many unwinnable wars can you afford? He ends with the threat, hurt him again, and next time he'll go after Osborn and the Sentry. I even think he said something about Osborn's son. He's like, I'll come after you and your son. And I was like, damn.
Not Normie.
Yeah. The bot then explodes. The next day, Osborn calls the president. He makes his case. Asgard is an alien military power sitting on U.S. soil. He wants authorization to act. The president isn't buying it. He shuts the request down and suggests Osborn focus on the attack on Avengers Tower. Osborn lies, says, don't even worry about it. It was just like a tech issue, something from Tony Stark's old inventions. But the president still says that the answer is no. So Osborn goes to Loki. They need an excuse, something the public cannot ignore. Loki suggests a repeat of Stanford, something that sparks outrage. Now you know what I'm talking about there with Stanford?
Yeah, man. Oh
You
my
want to tell the
goodness.
people? You want to tell the people?
It's what started Civil War, man. Just Nitro nuking himself and killing like 600 people and like 80 kids. Like it was crazy. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
the
Rest in peace to the
entirety
New Warriors.
the entirety of Civil War started because the New Warriors, who were doing I want to say a reality show at the time,
Yeah,
so they had camera crews and all that stuff out there. They were dealing with what was his name?
Nitro. He was a
Nitro.
mutant that could explode.
Yes, and Nitro. They like push Nitro against like a school bus, and Nitro blows up, kills the kids, and kills people in the surrounding area. Basically, almost like a nuke going off. It was this inciting incident that allowed then for the Superhero Registration Act to be ratified and basically cause civil war. We also know that through attacks on our own soil, we have been allowed to do some very heinous things. But we got permission from the public because we just said, "Hey, look what those guys did to us," and we got all the permission that we needed to go into various countries. Um, so this is like scary, but also like true.
Right.
It's evil, but it's also politics. What do you think about this conversation of like we need another inciting incident and maybe we have to create one?
I hate the false flag attacks. It's such a it's such a played out trope in human history
Yeah,
just to try to do something to justify doing something heinous to that person because you want it's all resources. It's always resources. But for this instance, like I don't see why I can't think of a justifiable reason why the US military would have beef with Asgard. Like
right.
Thor's the ally. He saved the planet several times over. He's been here before your grandparents and your grandparents and your grandparents. Like it's just all bad. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
100%. But it's also one of those things where it's like there's a lot of money in the security business, bro. There's a lot of money in getting people scared enough to spend money to be protected. And so if you can go ahead and
Mm,
say that, yeah, Thor's you do the what's it called? Batman in BVS. If there's even a 1% chance that Thor might switch on us and these Asgardians might switch on
oh,
us, like who wants to be the one to apologize to all of America when the Asgardians strike and murder us all as us ants? Compared, what I'm saying? All you got to do is drum up that fear. All you have to do is say those guys over there, we're basically they're slaves, if they choose to act wrong. And no, they would never do that. They would never do
right?
that, but it's a compelling argument against them. And even sadder about this whole false flag thing, in my opinion, is this idea that they're going to use freaking Volstagg to do.
Right? Not the voluminous, man. Like, oh, I hate Loki. Loki, this is one of the few times I hated Loki, like for real. Like, because I'm like, did he die in Ragnarok? He was a head on his brother's like hip at one point. He was a
Yeah,
female. He was a woman. Now he's a dude again. Like this
100%.
Loki, I hated this Loki because I'm like, yo, he wanted Asgard, but at the same time, he doesn't want Asgard for real. Like, what is your end game here, Loki?
Not only that, but like, spoiler alert, by the end of it, he's praying to his father. I'm so sorry that I did any of
Facts.
this because this has gone completely off the rails and I have no way of fixing it. So I think that's interesting too. And this is like older Loki. Like at one point, he almost becomes like they go to like the oldest form with the fur and the hat.
Hmm.
Like that's like one of the oldest forms of Loki. He'll eventually, very soon, have almost a heroic arc with the Young Avengers as young Loki. But this is like the most devious, the most evil, whatever. I like that
Yeah.
when he talks to Norman. Norman's like, "How am I supposed to believe you? You're the god of mischief," and he's like, "Yeah, but I'm not the god of lies." And Norman's like,
Like you are the god of lies.
Yeah, yeah. And Norman's like, no, remember they switched it. He's the god of stories. And so it's
Right
like,
now.
it's like stories, lies. Like, I mean, right? Fiction is a lie. Ultimately, if I tell you the story of a big giant stomping around Seattle, I'm effectively lying. And so, yeah, I like how he twists that around. And it's like, oh, bro, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But yeah, Volstagg is like the big jolly giant in the Warriors 3, and at many times has taken back over for the role of Thor. I think at one point he was the War Thor. Yeah,
Hmm.
when Thor was unworthy, and so This guy never asked for no beef. This guy never asked for no problems or no trouble. But he leaves Asgard looking for an adventure on Earth. He ends up in Chicago where he stops a robbery, but his Asgardian strength causes collateral damage. He's not used to fighting amongst humans, and the results are a little messy. Osborn and Loki take notice of that. They see an opportunity to manufacture the disaster that they need. Soon after, the UFOs, energy-based villains working under the hood, again, another tie into something that we're going to be getting very soon. So we're getting a lot of Parker Robbins in this, and he's going to
Right?
be, we're going to see him in Ironheart soon. So if they're working for the Hood, but by extension working for Osborn, and they attack Volstagg, their fight spills into Soldier Field during a packed football game. The UFOs bombard Volstagg with energy blasts. He holds his own, but the shockwaves from their powers cause catastrophic damage. The stadium is destroyed, and thousands are killed. Watching in his astral form, Osborn and Loki see exactly what they wanted: a disaster they can pin on Asgard. Osborn knows that he'll get the green light now. Again, all of this makes me sick to my stomach. Like the idea
Man,
that you would just use a bunch of people as pawns, dead bodies as pawns, something to point to and say, you see, like those guys are savages over there. Look what they did. And now we need I need your permission to go kill those savages. It's a tale as old as time. Uh,
it
and
is.
and like they also, like, I remember part of the conversation being like, Thor's not there. Like that's a better reason to
Right?
attack.
Like Thor's exiled. Thor's not around. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's
we
like,
get
why are you bastards? Like you're waiting till like the cat's away, right? Then the mouse are gonna play kind of shit. Like they wouldn't even have the balls enough to like strike Asgard at its full strength, you know? And it's he literally has a devil on his one shoulder and then like another devil on his other shoulder because
yeah.
the goblin is talking to him and making him paranoid and making him feel like people don't respect him. And then Loki's on the other shoulder saying like, hey, do this war, and people would totally respect you. They totally would
Yeah,
buy
do
you.
this war.
Yeah, yeah, yes. And then the goblin's like, yeah, I guess he's right. I don't know. I like green too. So there's a there's a lot going on here with this. But it is perfect. It is exactly what they need to get the permission from the people that they need. So back at his office, Osborn tells Victoria Hand to inform the president that Chicago is under control. He then gives the order: gather the Dark Avengers and all of the Initiative members still loyal. They're invading Asgard. Now, the Initiative was a program that Osborn created, right? Like state-sponsored Avengers.
It
Is that what it
was
was?
the 50 state initiative came about, during the Superhuman Registration Act, that
Right, right.
basically every state would have their own Avengers team that's registered, or like a superhero team with they're all registered members.
Yeah,
So it's like dozens of heroes that are just working for the government, basically.
yeah. Did we? They had. I feel like when that dropped, they had like a miniseries or something, and like they had the 50 covers, like or something like that, where they had like each whoever was
Hmm.
taking over each state or whatever. So yeah, you have all these registered heroes, and a lot of them are not evil, but they're being told that they're on mission, and their mission now is to attack Asgard. When he tells the Dark Avengers, they're all like nah. Like
Like,
immediately
dude,
they're
you're
like,
trying to go to war
what?
with Asgard? What are you? Like, I like that. That was funny because, like,
Yeah,
literally everyone told Green Goblin. I mean, not Osborn, like, you're crazy.
yeah,
Taskmaster told him crazy. The president told him he was crazy. Ares is like, I'm not about to go to war with my friends. They're my
yeah,
allies. Like, are
yeah.
you high?
hmm And the funny thing is, like, that's the accusation. Are you crazy? And the truth of the matter is, yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit.
he is cracked.
He's a little bit crazy. And he kind of creates, because Ares is the first person in his inner circle to kind of press him about this. He's like, we're not doing it. Like, I'm not doing it. And basically, Osborn lies and says that there's nothing shady going on, and that Asgard is the line they keep using is like it's unnatural for Asgard to be on Earth. That's kind of how he gets him on board. He's like, "Don't you agree that for the most part, Asgard does not deserve to be on, or does not, deserve is not the right word, but
Like
like,
the way they use it is like they're gods and we're mortals. There should be a line, a wall that separates these things,
right,
type stuff.
yeah,
Because when you bring gods and their problems to Earth, well, we're getting all their problems. Because, like,
Exactly.
Jesus Christ, if the man God showed up and was like,
Yeah.
I want to destroy Asgard, like,
It's Man of Steel, right? That whole town was fine until people realized Superman lived there, and then everyone started to show up and started to blow things up. So I totally buy that
mhm,
too. Um, but what I love is that Ares is like kind of on board, but he's basically like, all right, you got it, but if you're lying, I'm gonna kill you. I'm just like,
facts.
I was thinking to myself, I hope that comes back around, and it kind of does.
Yeah.
Osborn then meets with the rest of the team, and like I said, a lot of them are discouraged about this kind of thing, but he kind of gives them the perfect out. If you help me win this war, then you're free. Time served. You don't have to do the Dark Avengers thing. You don't even have to do the Thunderbolts thing anymore. We'll take, clear your record, go off on the streets. And a lot of them are kind of doing this Dark Avengers slash Thunderbolts thing as like time served. Like they're trying to,
hmm
minimize their sentences. So, wait, you're telling me I never have to pretend to be a hero again? I just have to help you win this one war? It's enough to get a lot of them to be on his side. Uh,
Yeah.
And then Ares steps up and he delivers a rousing battle speech to Hammer, the Initiative, and Osborn's Avengers. The war machine is now in motion. Meanwhile, the president can't reach Osborn and realizes the obvious. He's lost control of the man he put in power. Loki appears to Balder with a warning. Midgard is coming for Asgard. Why do you think Loki warns his brother?
Because at this point, he knew that he fucked up. Because
Yeah,
because Loki wants to rule Asgard. He doesn't want it to be destroyed.
yeah,
That's when he realized, like, because he's like, yo, if we take Asgard, you'll make me ruler. That's not what's happening. They want to just straight up destroy Asgard. And that's
yeah,
why I feel like Loki just, you know what? I see the error of my ways. Let me go tell my brother.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because his brother Boulder is leading Asgard. Boulder was rumored to make an appearance, I want to say was it Love and Thunder or
he was gonna be played by Daniel Craig in Multiverse of Madness. That was that
Multiverse
empty
of
chair at the
Oh,
end.
he was gonna be on the Illuminati.
Yep.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. But with the permission and with all the soldiers, the siege begins. The Sentry strikes first, tearing into Asgard with brute force. Osborn leads
Whew.
the air assault, flanked by Initiative troops and the Dark Avengers. Elsewhere, Donald Blake checks on Tony, and I'm like, Donald Blake, huh? I know who Donald Blake
Right?
is.
Right?
And Tony's mind is still scrambled but improving. Maria Hill and Blake see the attack on the news, so Blake tells her to get Stark out of there. And they make a reference to his cane. And if you know Donald Blake and you know about his cane, he just slams that sucker on the ground and he becomes a mighty Thor. And that's what he does. He steps outside and becomes Thor. And immediately goes straight to Osborn.
Straight
Straight to Osborn.
beeline.
Because even like, there's all of like, what is like the audacity of you? What are any of you guys doing here? There's people on this team that Thor has fought side by side with, and they've all been convinced that Asgard is the what is it public enemy number one. And so
Crazy.
there's so much audacity. There's so much like, how dare you guys come over here
How
and do this?
dare you attack the Golden City,
Yeah,
the home eternal, the home of the Norse, the
yeah,
Aesir gods,
yes, yes.
like,
The kingdom of my father. Like like
and his
how,
father.
and yeah, 100%, 100%. So he rockets towards Osborn, but the Sentry intercepts him and slams him into the ground. Thor retaliates, launching the Sentry into the sky, but a
Ding, ding,
coordinated
ding. Round one.
yeah, basically. But a coordinated barrage from Osborn and the Initiative wears Thor's down. Like he literally told everyone to fire on Thor. All their
But
powers.
the page people, it was a nuke. It
Yeah.
was a nuke. It didn't do nothing to Thor, but the fact that their powers combined nuked them, and he was like, "You dare
Yeah,
attack me?"
that was so badass.
I was pissed.
That was so badass. Um, it just kind of wears him down. It doesn't knock him out, but Osborn finishes it, and he's able to knock out Thor cold. And so the media runs with it. Thor has fallen. This is everything they kind of want. This is the media sort of exposure that they want for this war. And so like you're like, damn, Thor's down. Osborn's getting what he wants. Asgard is being overrun right now. and like what the hell could happen next? And then you see that watching from afar is Steve Rogers, and he is not happy. And
The
we
OG.
the OG. And now this is a Steve Rogers that was previously killed. At the moment in universe, Bucky is Captain America. This is, I want to say, this is the Steve Rogers that'll eventually grow old, become like the
Hmm.
director of Shield, and then
Yep.
go full around, get the Cosmic Cube, turn into Cap, Hydra Cap, and et cetera and so forth. But right now, this is very much a homecoming because
Oh
the world
yeah.
has been without Steve Rogers as Captain America. You already seen that Thor was hiding out as Donald Blake. And we saw that Tony Stark has basically had his mind scrambled. All of our guys, I believe by 2010, Hulk's in space as well. So
Yeah.
so there's a lot of like the missing of the old guard. It's almost like the parents are gone. Who's gonna stop any of
Oh
this?
yeah.
And so for Cap to show up, it's almost like there's an adult in the room now. Like I'm so much happier that there's like someone with common sense is in the room because then they could probably help stop this. But what do you think about
Facts.
that?
No,
What do you think about that final page there, seeing Cap there, and what do you think about like what Norman Osborn's been able to accomplish thus far in our story?
I thought it was some bullshit on Norman Osborn's part, but I stood up literally reading it like for the first time and again reading it again because I got so hyped. Because like if you see your friend getting jumped, what's the first thing you're gonna do? Call the homies, call the
Mm-hmm.
squad, call the
Yep.
gang. Because we believe in overwhelming force. We don't believe in one-on-ones.
100%. Yeah. And again, like this is not like just Cap's coworker. Him and Thor go way back. Way,
They're
way,
battle
way, way.
buddies. They are
100%.
war buddies. They are
Yeah.
blood brothers.
Yeah. I totally love at the end when he's like, if you need my help, bro, just let me know. You know what I'm saying? Like forever,
Facts.
forever. If his hands on
Forever.
Asgard, his hands on Earth. I was like, damn, Thor, that's getting me hype. What's going on here?
Facts. And you know what? That's crazy because Thor, he's said this on several occasions that he's been alive for so long, been in so many battles, met so many people that it all blurs together. But the one thing that always he will remember is that shield and the man behind it carried it. He would
Yeah.
never forget Steve Rogers just because of how he showed up.
Yeah.
He was the first to show up. Like, he'd always be there to stand by his friends, his fellow Avengers, no matter what.
And it's easy to show up when you have a magic hammer and you're basically immortal. I think he gets a lot of respect knowing that Cap, besides the super soldier serum, is a man. He's a man who can be killed. He's a
Mhm.
man who has been killed. So I think that goes very far for Thor in this. And I always love their respect levels. I think that's pretty cool.
Facts. Notice you copied my beard?
Yes, yeah, right. So, as the skies above Asgard burn with battle, Ares clashes swords with Balder. In the heat of their duel, Balder demands to know why the god of war has torn on them. These guys go way back. These are all gods here. Ares doesn't mince words. He blames the Asgardians for letting Odin fall, for letting Loki take the throne, and declares Asgard never belonged on Midgard in the first place. But Heimdall arrives with the kind of truth that cuts deeper than any blade. Balder is the rightful king, and Ares didn't save Asgard. He has delivered it directly into Loki's madness. It's then that Ares finally sees it, the chaos, the betrayal. Osborn played him. And you know what he
Played
told
him like
Osborn?
you lie to me, I'ma kill you.
It's on sight. It's on sight. Across the battlefield, Norman Osborn, now the Iron Patriot, stands smugly over a downed Thor, flanked by his version of Miss Marvel and the UFOs. But before he can gloat too long, a rocket slams into the group, sending bodies flying. The launcher is in the hands of Maria Hill, who isn't done
Woo.
yet. She lets another missile fly. I love comic book Maria Hill. I wish MCU Maria Hill got some of that burn.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Because not for nothing, it's not Fury that stands up to Cap in Civil War. It's Maria Hill.
Yeah.
He's the one that tries to arrest his ass on the helicarrier, and then he jumps out the whole shit using the shield. And then like I love the whole like Pleasant Hill stuff that she's in charge of later on.
Oh yeah.
Like I think
That
that's
shit's
super.
crazy.
I think that's super interesting, and that ultimately leads to Hydra Cap because it's the whole cosmic cube thing, rewriting people's memories, etc. And like she just like got shot in Secret Invasion. She'll never come back.
Right, unceremoniously just got
Uh,
killed off because there was a lot of great stories with Maria Hill and like that. I thought they would involve her more in the MCU's Civil War, but all the movies just have the tagline just for the hype from the comic. It has nothing to
yeah,
do with the comic.
yeah, just brand recognition, basically.
Yeah.
So one of the UFOs tries to capitalize and comes after Maria Hill from behind, but Thor, with the last embers of power in him, blasts both the attacker and Miss Marvel into the dirt. He collapses soon after. Hill and the driver load the Thunder God into a vehicle and race towards Broxton, Oklahoma. Meanwhile, in the Avengers hideout, Steve Rogers dons the Stars and Stripes again. Surrounded by the new Avengers, the young Avengers, the Secret Warriors, he doesn't pretend to understand how Osborn conned his way into power, but he makes one thing clear. They're going to stop him. And again, like, all the people that's on his team are people that who've been doing superheroics in the dark, because the government sponsored team is the Dark Avengers. So the Secret Warriors, the Young Avengers, the New Avengers, they've all been kind of like sidelined, and so Cap is
Yeah.
bringing them off of the bench for the
Let's
big play.
go. Let's go,
Yeah,
Secret Avengers.
yeah. So I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, it's a Young Avengers they got. I was like, I ain't mad at that team. Like, they got a lot of heavy hitters
Facts.
on that team. They could really get some
Mm,
damage done. Um, Back in Asgard, Osborn sends Dakin after Hill and the wounded Thor. But from above, Ares barrels into him like divine intervention. The god of war finally realizes Osborn's betrayal and calls him on it. Osborn tries to deflect, claiming Ares would have done the same, but Ares fires back, not against Asgard. But before Ares can end this, the Sentry slams into him like a missile. They collide in a brutal clash. Ares slices his axe across Sentry's torso, but the blow doesn't stop him. It's almost like the void is taking over.
mhm.
Osborn is having a blast because this is his attack dog. And he's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Someone attacked Osborn and Sentry's on it. And they go back and forth. They smash each other all over Asgard, smashing into pillars, the debris going everywhere. And then the unthinkable happens. Sentry doesn't just beat Ares, he murders him. In a moment that stops everyone cold, Sentry grabs Ares and tears him in half, limb from limb. His guts, his viscera, everything just splattered all over. And he casts his body aside like a warning to both the gods and the men alike that he is not to be messed with. This is not the first time Sentry's done something so brutal, but this is to a hero. Ares is a hero.
And not just a hero, a Greek god.
Yes, that should not be ripped like tissue paper. That normally isn't
And not,
ripped like tissue paper.
right? And not just any Greek god, the god of
Oh,
war.
war.
Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Because I don't remember, like, because he ripped Carnage in half. He flew up to
Yeah.
space and ripped him in half and just left them floating.
Yep.
And ironically, this is what is going to happen to Sentry, like, in less than a decade. Because
Yeah.
Null rips him in
There's
half and
yeah.
absorbs the void.
Yep. He also ripped the head off of Morgan Le Fay. Just flew by and snatched her wig off, took her head off. So like, we have been known that one of the things they keep reiterating in Dark Avengers, and again, I would implore you guys to go check out the last two episodes where we talk about it, is that no one knows Sentry's power level. No one knows
No one knows.
how big it is, or what his limitations are. And as of the Dark Avengers story, we're learning things like he can't die, like he can control the molecules around him, and instances like this where he can rip a god in half. The more that we learn about him, the more it becomes apparent that no one can really control him. The best that they can do is like talk nicely to him and hope that he
Talk no
does.
jutsu.
Yeah, and hope that he does what they want him to do. And for the most part, Norman has had a weird sort of leash on Robert. In the Dark Avengers story, because of all the drama between him and his wife, they actually have his wife killed. Norman sends Bullseye to go kill his wife so that there's even less
Crazy.
that's a toxic relationship, right? Like, take away all the friends and family. Now it's just me and you, and I'm gonna be the one giving you the love and attention that you crave, so long as you murder a whole bunch of people for me. It's so messed up. Because you can tell Robert is not in his right mind. He's barely in his right mind, and definitely not in this moment here.
I I I feared for everyone in the comic when he showed up because I'm like, that's not Sentry in control right now.
Yeah,
That ain't Bob or Sentry. Something bad is about to go down. And then when he killed Ares, I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't Sentry.
yeah.
This is something else.
And he's starting to show like the darkness in his eyes. Like there's telltale
Mhm.
signs that something is coming over him, and this is something that again, even in the Dark Avengers, was like a boiling pot that Osborn just kept throwing ice cubes in. You know, like hoping that it won't eventually bubble over, but it's looking like it's bubble time over here in these streets. Back at the base, Nick Fury secured a ship that will take the hero straight to Asgard. Bucky doesn't flinch. He hands Steve the shield, knowing that the real Captain America is needed now more than ever. Steve hesitates, but he takes it. When he asks Bucky what he'll do, Bucky just grabs a gun and he's like, "I'll do what I always do."
I'll do what I always do, Cap.
I like that's terrible, man. You were a child soldier, and now you're just grabbing the gat. He's like, always keep that
It
thing.
is what it is.
Hey, like, always keep that thing on me, Steve. Don't even worry about it. Uh, I almost heard many men in the background, like, so, blah, blah, blah. Jarvis steps forward and hands Steve a suitcase, something meant for someone near Asgard. Meanwhile, Fury shuts down Phobos' attempt to join the mission. Are you very familiar with this character, Ares' son, Phobos?
I'm not familiar with him, but I know from mythology he has Deimos and Phobos. He has two sons. That's all I
Ah,
really much know about him.
apparently he has like the ability to instill like god level fear into people because he tries to do it to
Oh
Nick Fury, and Nick
yeah.
Fury's like, "Yeah, kid, try that on somebody else." Like I've gone through enough bullshit to they ain't scared of me. So I thought that was pretty funny. Oh, I actually wrote that down. Meanwhile, Fury shuts down Phobos' attempt to join the mission. The god of fear tries to psych him out with his powers, but Fury doesn't budge. He's seen too much and nothing scares him anymore. I love that moment.
That was some cold shit right there, Fury.
That's the is it the dependence there to Thanos?
Yeah.
Thanos is like, yeah, bro. Like, I do this for breakfast. I do this every morning because ain't nothing you can do to me here. As the helicarrier lifts off, Wiccan asks the $1 million question: how are they getting to Asgard in time? Fury flips a switch, revealing a built-in wormhole drive. The answer: seconds. In Broxton, Dakin tracks Thor's scent like a predator, but as he gets close, he's hit by a searing blast of godly lightning. Thor,
Ooh.
bloodied but unbowed, refuses to run. He swears he'll defend Asgard and Broxton with every last breath. Osborn sends Sentry to finish him. Dakin gets barbecued in this moment.
Fricasseed.
That happens so quickly. They send him off into the distance, and they're like just watching from a distance, and then you just see this massive thunderbolt come out
Massive. Just crack a coon.
and strike him, and then they just show like his searing flesh as he's on the ground. Thor is not to be messed with, and he again, it's not even the case of him fighting because he knows he'll win. He'll fight. He's fighting because this is the only thing he can do. This is his home. These are his people. So yeah, they send Sentry to go finish him, but before he can act, Taskmaster gives Osborn a heads up. Hey, you might want to turn around. And Osborn does, just in time to see Captain America's shield flying straight at his face. I love that art. I love that art
I
of
love
just
it too.
the shield, the reflection of the shield just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, oh no, I have made a mistake.
Yeah, you did.
Again, it's almost like the moment with Valentina is like, how badly you had to mess up to get all those guys off of the couch to rally up against you. Like, you caused this. You are the catalyst that caused them all to get. All right, I guess I am getting up and fucking get on the same page with these guys because this is absolutely bonkers. So I'm super super glad Cap has joined the fray. Inside the White House, the president is being briefed by the National Security Council on what is being called the Siege of Asgard. Under normal circumstances, the call would be simple: send in the Avengers, but this time the Avengers are the problem. Osborn's Dark Avengers, backed by Hammer and the full might of the Initiative, are leading the assault. Faced with this new twisted betrayal of power, the president makes a call. Arrest Osborn and his crew. And that's when he gets the update. Cap and Nick Fury have just arrived at the front lines, and they've brought the real Avengers with them.
Yeah, buddy.
Gang,
Also, I
gang.
like to point out, I love the fact that they drew Obama, but not drew Obama as the president
Yeah, yeah,
in this
yeah.
comic. You know, I was like, yes, yes, this
Yeah,
is a great time in storytelling.
yeah, it's 100%. On the battlefield, Steve Rogers wastes no time. He bellows, Avengers assemble, and hurls his shield straight at Osborn. Balder, watching the tide turn, welcomes Thor's allies with open arms. The fight erupts, Avengers versus Dark Avengers. Thor sets his sights on Sentry, hammering him blow after blow, but Sentry absorbs the punishment like it's nothing. Then, as if things couldn't escalate further, the Hood just shows up, and with his gang, he summons them out of thin air, but with a combination of his powers and Loki's powers. Meanwhile, Speed is tearing through Broxton with a suitcase clutched in his hand, the one Jarvis gave him. He runs straight to Maria Hill, who almost opens fire, but Speed explains he's on orders from Cap. The case is for Tony, and inside, exactly what Tony needs. Maria Hill lets him through. And again, I'm like, yeah, I know what that is.
Right?
I think we all know what that is. And not only that, it's been the existence of Iron Patriot has been such dirt on both Iron Man and Captain America's name. You know, like, and so I'm like so happy that both of them are coming back, because Osborn thought effectively that he could replace two of the best men in the MCU. And I mean, as heroes, as leaders, as people. And having them both come together and get basically what they need to come into this fight got me super excited.
Same.
So back in Washington, tensions rise fast. The U.S. military is seconds away from carpet bombing Asgard. I love that in all these comics, that's the only thing that they want to do is like nuke whatever the problem is. Remember, like, oh, the Chitauri.
Right, just
Oh,
get rid of it.
let's just nuke Times Square or whatever.
Right. I feel like that was Hydra really behind that.
Yeah, right. They never end up showing like that hall of shady bosses again.
Right. Right. Like they were all Hydra. They had to be, because like, why would you nuke New York City?
Yeah.
Even if it's an alien invasion, the military is not even there yet to contain it. Like,
Yeah. Yep. It's bonkers. Yeah, they had to have been working for the wrong side. But as far as a nuke is concerned, the president hesitates because there's too many real heroes on the ground now. One of his advisors put it plainly. Osborn hasn't just declared war on Asgard, he's declared war on America. The president gives the go-ahead, but only for the Air Force to neutralize the Hammer helicarrier. Captain America's Avengers are to be left on the ground fighting for what's right. On the helicarrier, Victoria Hand sees what's coming and gives the order to abandon ship. Down below, Osborn squares off with Steve Rogers. Cap tells him he's under arrest for treason. Osborn's ready to argue his way out until his suit starts to short out. And then suddenly, when this happened, I go, oh, like, he's got nothing. Like, if we shut this suit down,
he's nothing. He has nothing.
It's a wrap. He's been talking all this hotness all this time. Besides dealing with, we'll have to deal with Sentry, but as far as Norman Osborn goes, it's literally a switch. And not only is it a switch, he's so confused as to how this could happen when there's obviously only one reason. There's only one person who's got the key to all of these cars. So if they're shut down, I think there's only one place you could point at. And that's when he sees Iron Man fully suited up in his Mark IV armor, the classic one.
The classic. Let's go.
Steve Rogers lets him know. Oh, no, sorry. Tony Stark lets him know. The Iron Patriot suit and his tech is done playing soldier. But Osborn isn't ready to lose yet. In his final desperation, he issues the command to his ace in the hole. Bring it down. And Sentry does. In a move that shocks gods and mortal alike, Sentry tears through Asgard like a missile, leveling the mythical city, bringing it crashing down into the plains of Oklahoma. Thor can only watch in horror as his home is reduced to rubble. Osborn, stripped of the Iron Patriot armor, is now standing and raving like a madman. The worst part about it, this guy's painted his face green. And he's not even hiding it anymore. The Green Goblin is back.
Right. Completely cracked, completely just thrown. He's crashing out.
Yeah,
It
that's
was all it was
yes.
all bad.
That is the best way to define what's going on here for the rest of the series with Osborn. It's just a prolonged crashing out segment because all of it has fallen around him, all of it. And not only has all of it fallen around him, but all of this is on camera. And optics is the only way he got this job to begin with because it was shown on camera that he killed the Skrull Queen. That's the only reason why he was given Hammer in the first place. That's the only reason why people
Mhm.
trusted him enough to defend humanity because he already did it before. And now all of humanity is seeing him for what he truly is. And he truly is and possibly will always be the Green Goblin. Like that's who you are, bro. I get it. You want to babysit this kid, but guess what? You're the Green Goblin. You understand? So it's all that and more. And the face paint is just an additional level of insanity, right?
Mm.
This kind of reminds me of the Rorschach when they take off his mask and he's like, "Give me back my face," like that sort of thing. Like this is Osborn. The green is Osborn. And there's been a prolonged time in Dark Avengers where Victoria Hand keeps trying to talk to Osborn, and he'll talk to her, but he won't take off the suit and he won't take off the helmet. And I think you're supposed to be led to believe that he's been doing this painting thing for some time. He's been both halvesing this for some time. And it's the first time that everyone's seen him do it. And like I said, the moment is broadcast live. The X-Men see it and the Fantastic Four see it, the president, the world. And again, all the heroes are like, told you, like any
Yep.
minute now, any minute. Yep. It's Osborn crash out the clock. And so I love that Bullseye and Moonstone take one look at each other and they're like, yeah, let's get out of here.
All right, this is leave.
It-
Like we're
like
done here.
our boss is crashing out. I don't think we're gonna get the things he said he was gonna give us, and a lot of people are dying, so we should probably get out of here. Um, but Osborn is unhinged. He's howling. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. He's just crashing out. And he just keeps saying, "You don't understand. You don't understand. You guys have doomed yourself. You don't understand." And then Spider-Man just walks up and knocks his ass out.
Just cold cocks the shit out of him. Loved it.
Listen,
I love
Eddie,
the fact that it was Spider-Man.
that's what I'm about to say.
Like
If it was going to be somebody, Peter's like, yeah, I've heard this before, guys. Give me a second, real quick. Boom. And he punches him out. So Thor, furious and grieving, snatches up Osborn and is like, "You need to tell me where Loki is right now. I know you guys been working together. You know, your secret's out. Tell me where my brother is." And Osborn just laughs and says, "He's dead." He keeps rambling, ranting, crashing out. No one understands. No one wants to understand. I was trying to save you guys all, but you're already dead. You're all already dead. And no one knows what the hell's going on. And then it happens. The skies blacken. A chill runs down everyone's spine. And they look up, and the void has arrived. Just dark
bruh.
tendrils, darkness,
I
shadows.
love I love this version of the Void. Like I like the first version with the white eyes and he's just all black, but this like the full totality splash page, him just raising his hand and just blackness just starts engulfing everything and shit. Like Jesus Christ, if they ever decide to go this version of the Void in the MCU.
Oh, it's gonna be bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I really also appreciate this is a trope that happens sometimes, but I always dig when a villain is afraid of another villain.
Oh
Like
yeah.
like before we even get to this void part, the idea that Osborn is just screaming and crashing out at the top of his lungs with just like this urgency of like, oh my God, you guys, you don't understand, just brings home how dangerous all of this is about to get. So I appreciated that as well. Realizing the monster he's unleashed, Loki begs his father Odin for forgiveness. In a rare, desperate act of grace, he claims the Norn stones from the hood, channeling their power not for himself, but for the Avengers. The stones surge with ancient magic, supercharging the heroes and, for the first time, allowing them to truly hurt the Void. The only thing I would have liked is if they would have got like some kind of like Asgardian like armor or hats or stuff like that.
Right. That would have been dope. That would have been dope.
But you know they appreciated the power up. It's just funny that it had to come from Loki. But this is just him playing both sides again, right? Self-preservation, getting
Yeah.
getting out from underneath it.
Right.
Uh
It's crazy because the Avengers formed to stop Loki. Now he's helping them.
yeah.
We have come full circle.
He knows that they're the only heroes that can do it. because they did it to him. So he's like,
Yeah.
uh, they basically try to talk down the Void while fighting him, but mercy is not in the Void's nature. Sensing Loki's interference, the Void retaliates with brutal finality. He tears through the trickster god, slaughtering him in an instant and crushing the Norn stones along with him. And I'm like, oh my god, Loki's dead. But then I'm like, Loki never really dies. Like, this is just
Right.
one of the many deaths. Thor and Iron Man rush to Loki's aid, but they're too late. Tendrils of blackness lash out and block their path. Loki dies in Thor's arms, his final words filled with regret. Elsewhere, Norman Osborn makes a break for it, scrambling away from the battle, desperate to escape the reckoning. But Cap is already there, and his shield slams into Osborn with surgical precision. Cap demands to know how to stop the Void. But the Osborn crash out continues, and he wide-eyed gives a chilling answer. The only way to stop the Void is to sympathize with the Void. But now there's no stopping him. He is the angel of death. And I think he believes that.
Yeah, like, because at this point, like, like, the Void is a demon, but like, even demons can be stopped. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I would believe like this part of the Sentry is the angel of death. Like, because like, what can you do to stop this reality warping, limitless power being? Like, what can you
Yeah.
do except talk no jutsu?
100%. And I don't like Norman never came up with a contingency plan for this level because he knew if it got to this level, it would be all over. So to him, it is all over. Like all of this it's over. Like y'all could talk and make plans and do whatever you want, but the Sentry's here or the Void is here, and if the Angel of Death arrives, death is usually very close behind. But Iron Man's voice cuts in with a plan. He tells Thor to draw the Void away from the ruins of Asgard and into the open plains. Then Stark does what he does best. He hacks into the abandoned Hammer helicarrier and sets it on a collision course. He warns Victoria Hand to evacuate, and then he sends the entire ship screaming from the sky, crashing into the Void with a cataclysmic explosion that lights up the battlefield like a second sun. In the smoke and fire, Osborn tries one last time to disappear into the chaos, but of all people, Volstagg catches him, grabs him by the collar, and snarls that judgment is coming. And you deserve that. You all deserve that. You know what's funny about this whole thing with the Sentry? This is what he did to Hulk as well, wasn't it? He sent the needle or whatever, the satellite beam straight down to obliterate Hulk when he was going crazy.
Friggin' Soul's hammer.
Yeah, and eventually it's Sentry that's able to basically figure out the situation with Hulk, and after the smoke clears, Hulk is just in a crater as Bruce Banner, and similarly, the smoke clears here, and in the heart of the crater, the Sentry lies naked and confused and human. Robert Reynolds stares at the ruins he's wrought and quickly begs for death. He's like, "Was this all me?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Kill me." And Thor's like, "I'm not doing that, friend. No more shortcuts. No more mercy killing.
No, you will pay for your crimes today."
Yeah, he declares that Reynolds must stand trial. And then all of a sudden Reynolds goes, "No, you don't get it. Kill me." And his eyes black over and the tendrils come back out, and the Void, we find out, is not done. In a final horrific surge, it tries to crawl its way back into being, and that's when Thor makes a call. With a roar, he summons a lightning bolt of divine fury, one so powerful it obliterates
the God Blast.
It obliterates the Sentry, the Void, and every trace of their existence, leaving behind nothing but a scorched skeleton. Thor was over it. Thor was over it when it started. He's definitely fucking over it now. He's come on. He's got stuff to do. You guys are getting in the way. As the thunder fades, the watchtower above Avengers Tower vanishes, because that was always his little add-on. That weird black part of the Avengers Tower. Thor collects the remains and takes them to the heart of the sun. There, Robert Reynolds disintegrates, his story ending in fire and silence. I was wondering if, like, he was gonna come back, like he was gonna, like, because there's a moment like where a little bit of the flame comes back to Thor, like he sends it off into the sun, a little bit of the flame comes back to Thor, and we know Sentry does end up returning. Is this a like Viking funeral kind of thing, or is this a double tap thing?
It's definitely probably both, honestly.
Yeah.
But definitely honoring your fallen foe who's your friend, give him the Viking funeral, and at the same time, the sun kills everything. So,
Right.
just make sure this doesn't happen again. So just throw him in the sun or a black hole or deep space, and just we have a nice burial,
Yeah.
a nice funeral for him.
Yeah, and like I love that Thor is so war is so in his DNA. Fallen foes are so in his DNA. The battle and the respect, literally built into his religion is the idea that if you die in battle, in great battle, you go to a warrior's heaven, which is different than where everybody else goes after their death. So
Mhm.
there are aspects in my mind where he does respect Robert Reynolds. Um, he didn't hate him enough to kill him. He wanted him to stand trial. So I think this is like you said. I think it's killing two birds with one stone, but also like if anyone's gonna do it, let it be him. Someone who
Mhm.
spent time with him and all that. Back on Earth, the Avengers and the Secret Warriors begin rounding up what's left of Osborn's army, and Steve Rogers, he personally tosses Osborn into the circle of justice. You'll stand trial, he tells him. You're going to prison. And then turning to Bucky, he says what many have waited to hear. You carry the shield now. You're Captain America for this era. So again, like so many things that have happened in our timeline. That's why I think this story could totally fit. In the aftermath, Steve Rogers is summoned to the White House. There, in the very seat of power that once empowered Norman Osborn, the president makes it official. Hammer is disbanded. This diplomacy with Asgard begins, and Rogers is asked to serve as the nation's top cop. Steve accepts, but only on his terms. His first demand is not a surprising one: abolish the superhero registration. It's like the original sin. When I saw it on the what is it, the newspaper or the news report or whatever, where it says
Mhm.
superhero registration have abolished, I'm like, yeah, he totally would. Like that started all of this. It fractured the Avengers. It allowed men like this was literally a divided we fall kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And even prior to that, they had already kind of been disassembled by Wanda. They were
Right. Avengers disassembled. Yeah.
they were at the absolute perfect weak point to allow a man like Norman to come over and take advantage. And I'm just glad that we're kind of past that. Obviously there will be more villains, there will be more crossover events, but I'll never forget the time where people were so down bad in the Marvel universe that they leaned on Norman Osborn to
Right.
to
Of
save them.
all people,
To save them.
Norman.
Yes, yes. I'll never forget that. Later at Avengers Tower, the team gathers not to just reflect, but to celebrate. Their unity held the line. They weren't alone. The Asgardians arrive in peace, honoring their shared victory. As a symbol of that alliance, Heimdall raises a spire, an Asgardian tower now fused with Avengers Tower itself. I was like, that's kind of cool. They got
Mhm.
another story added to their building. That's pretty cool. And then Thor, like I said, like the perfect speech maker, he says, if one realm is ever threatened again, the other will answer the call. I'm like, that's some pretty badass backup, if you
That's
ask
some
me.
real shit.
Thor steps forward. Should the Avengers need me, he says, I will be there. Steve Rogers nods because he knows what's coming, and he'll need everyone. And we kind of get a cool final splash page of what will eventually be the new Avengers that come out of all this. But this is a four-issue story that is basically 100 miles an hour from when it starts. There's
Yeah.
so much that happens, and we didn't cover any of the side books. There's a multiple tie-ins to this where you follow either the Thunderbolts or the New Avengers or even Osborn's Avengers. That it's in the Dark Avengers tie-ins. Excuse me, that Sentry, his wife ends up being killed. So that a lot of the blanks, if we haven't filled them in here, are filled in ultimately in those one shots. But what do you think after a reread of this story? What elements were there? Any elements that surprised you that you didn't remember, um, or any moments that stand out after this reread?
It was definitely just Oh, the craziness of Sentry since like Thunderbolts came out, like I forgot how powerful this character was, like how unhinged how he can be,
Yeah,
how deadly, how threatening the Void is. Like, because there's a what if of like this story. Like, what if the Void, what if Thor didn't stop the Void? The Void literally goes out into the universe and just destroys it.
yeah, yeah. He has the eternal blackness. He just takes over and envelops all, all things. And just like Thunderbolts, after this incredibly massive, you know, bout of destruction, Robert Reynolds has no clue what's going on, which is the
Right.
scariest part of it all. If he was, ranting and raving like Osborn, you're like, yeah, throw him in the raft. This guy's out of control. But he never knows the true scope of destruction that he causes. He's never really aware, and I think that gives him sympathy. But then, like, even in that moment where you want to feel bad for Bob, and then the void comes right back out, it's almost a constant reminder that you can never lower your shield when Robert Reynolds is around, even if the Sentry seemingly is on your side, because the void is usually not that far away.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, but no, this book was definitely like the culmination of 10 years of storytelling. So many events led up to this moment just for the rebirth, not just for the rebirth, but for the entire rebirth of the Avengers and starting a whole new age of just storytelling. Crazy storytelling.
Yeah, and I think similar to what happened in Thunderbolts, we get this kind of like new Coke situation where you present a team that nobody likes, and tell them that their old team is gone in Classic, and where those days are gone. You have everyone kind of angry about this new team, and then you go, "Hey, you know what? We're bringing the classics back," and all of a sudden, everyone's like, "Yeah, Captain America, yeah, Thor, Iron Man, Spidey." Even though I would guess that at the time, because they weren't doing many dark stories that weren't X-Men stories. Um, I could see that Marvel needed a shakeup. I mean, this is a roughly around like the 10 years of storytelling that you're talking about, from roughly like 2005, which is House of M, and then
Hmm.
this Avengers Disassembled and everything else that leads after that, like 5, 6 years prior to that, Marvel filed for bankruptcy. So it's like we
It's
need
true.
a new, and this, I think this run up until Secret Wars is my favorite time of Marvel Comics. I think I would say
It
from
was for me too. This is where I fell in love with Marvel, like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Like
I felt
just
like you could just follow everything into the next thing even
hmm
better. And I felt like every event was the culmination of what happened before. Like
hmm
because of Osborn killing in Secret Invasion, then you get, Siege, because they've now given him the power, to do what he wanted, and people are got in Secret Invasion because the Avengers are broken up. Why are the Avengers are broken up? Because of Civil War, and
why Civil War happened? Because the Superhero Registration Act.
exactly, exactly. And the mutants are not on their side because of the decimation, which happened not too long ago. So this era, like I said, is one of my favorites, and I think I would say it provides the best crossover events in the last 30 some odd years. And if you don't believe me, majority of them have been covered, maybe only in name only, in the MCU. Like a
Facts.
lot of this stuff that we're talking about, Secret Invasion, Civil War, I still haven't done Secret,
Ragnarok.
yeah, but Ragnarok, um, you can talk about the House of M elements and things like WandaVision and things like Multiverse of Madness as well. Dark Avengers is basically Thunderbolts, like we just kind of went over that. Um, these are the modern stories that they want to kind of gravitate towards because they're modern, and they're kind of running out. So Marvel right now is trying to create and cultivate a new slew of amazing stories to tackle, because they will be tapped out once they hit Hickman's end, which is Secret War. You know, then when that comes together and those worlds smash together, and we get the world with all of our favorite heroes on it, they now need more stuff to pull from. And if things stay as they
Oh
are, I
yeah,
can totally see them being like, well, the next thing is why is Asgard on Earth? And then
right.
we'll have to deal with the ramifications of all that. I was
We will.
surprised,
Hopefully, we get to see it.
totally. I was surprised. by, like you said, the effectiveness of Sentry. He doesn't say a word, I don't think, in this comic, or he says very
He
little.
he says one line, like for real in the fight, like how many gods do I have to kill today
Yeah, and that's the kind
before
of stuff.
like
Yeah, and
holy shit, that's a cold ass line.
the Void is talking cash shit. The Void is talking cash shit the whole
Right? That
time.
was
Like,
the voice saying
yeah,
that.
yeah. And I'm sitting there like, wow, he has this, because I couldn't remember if he had ever spoken. But not only has he spoken, he's taunting people. He's like, yeah, your heroes, y'all ain't nothing. So, yeah, I dug that aspect of it as well. But I thought this would be a cool kind of short story to cover that has a ton of action and moves the Marvel plot forward, and elements of this maybe end up being used in the MCU moving forward. Um, Coming up, we're gonna have a whole block of movies that are experiencing their anniversaries. We're doing Sin City next week. 20 years, 20-year anniversary of that comic, Sin City. So we'll be covering that. We got Judge Dredd on the calendar as well. That's celebrating, I want to say, 30 years. And these are all just appetizers to get us ready for the biggest blockbuster in comic book history, as the first two properties of DC and Marvel get their reboots. Both of them. Action Comics number one is what started all of DC Comics. And the very first heroes created under Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were the Fantastic Four. So we have their first projects going head to head this summer, which means that
Man,
we'll be covering some of the stories that they'll be pulling from. In Superman's case, we'll be covering All-Star Superman this summer. And in Fantastic Four case, we'll be covering The Coming of Galactus, which is a lot shorter than one would perceive. The old 60s version of that story. Kind of, and because think about it, the world where Marvel was in the 60s. It wasn't a crossover event where they had all the heroes that they have now.
right.
So like all the entire world is gonna get destroyed, and these four have to kind of figure it out. And it's much more quaint, smaller story, but it still has the gravitas of this world-ending giant trying to take over things. So super stoked to get in and chop it up about all that kind of stuff. But if you guys want to be privy to those conversations, you just got to follow ComicBookClique and Major Issues Podcast. The Major Issues Podcast is available wherever podcasts are found. That's Podbean, Stitcher, the Apple Podcast app, TuneFind, YouTube, Spotify, and more. You can type in Major Issues Podcast into Google, and we'll be the first result, because we've been busting our ass here to make our digital footprint bigger and bigger across the interwebs. You can't talk major issues without talking ComicBookClique. So, yeah, if you have already a podcast catcher of choice, you can go ahead and use that. But if not, go to comicbookclique.com. It's the one stop for everything Comic Book Clique. Articles written by us, and every single episode of the Major Issues Podcast has over 384 episodes, which comes out to something like 670 hours of content, 770 hours of content, something like that. Carry the
Oh
one,
shit.
people. Yeah, yeah. And that's on the conservative end. We're not counting our 3 hour plus episodes where we've gone into the woods, because you start adding some of that kind of stuff, I think we're getting closer to 1,000 hours. So you guys, just thank you guys for helping us out in that aspect. We are reaching two major milestones. This is episode 384, which means in this calendar year we will be hitting episode 400, which is fantastic. It's just huge. Can't believe we've
Crazy.
been doing it for that long. It's bonkers stuff. But also on top of that, if you go to facebook.com/comicbookclique and you follow us, we are currently on the road to 50K followers. We are at 46,000 right now. Getting ever closer. Our reach has never been better. Our content has never been better. It's just been fantastic to grow the social media that is Comic Book Clique, because we're finally having the conversations that we need to have. Like the other day, I posted about how, like, you gotta start putting some respect on Cyclops. Like, don't, if you're gonna do this new X-Men reboot, that's the man you need to focus on the absolute most. All the other dominoes will be in place. And I'm so used to putting some of that stuff out there into the ether and not ever paying attention to it. But I went back to it, and a bunch of people had some very strong opinions on Cyclops and the fact that he should be leading this. We started these conversations with a couple of us, in our various states, across time zones, talking to each other, and this has just grown exponentially. We have so many people who not only like the kind of content that we do in our recaps, our reviews, our video series, but also need the content that we do. There's so much bad faith. There's so much negative and just inflammatory content out there. So many pages that cash in on your outrage. And all we've ever done is try to be our optimistic self. And even when we do cover something we don't like, we find a way to have laughs and joke around and find a way to make
Yeah.
it fun because life is too short. I love that we've been afforded this opportunity amongst us to sit and chop it up about this kind of stuff. But hey, listen, know that whenever there's an episode of the podcast on, there's always an empty chair for the fans. There's always an empty chair for you guys, the click, to sit and comment. We record these things live on Facebook in video form, so you can get in the comments and chop it up with us as we talk about it. If not, once the thing is posted every Thursday in audio form, just write in the comments there. We have comments on Podbean, on Spotify, and we'll get back to you guys. As this gets bigger, we want more involvement and more engagement from you guys. Don't get it twisted. Me and A-Rob will talk about Marvel till the cows come home and never give anybody any space. But we're trying to let you guys in on the conversation so long as you guys behave. So make sure that you're following us all over social media to continue the conversation. Facebook.com/ComicBookClique, Instagram at ComicBookClique, and use that hashtag ComicBookClique to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. We're at Major Issue CBC on Twitter and also at Major Issue CBC on Twitch. I believe we're at Major Issue CBC on TikTok as well, or the Don CBC on TikTok as well. I'm posting some of our reels on there to see how they kind of work, because I think we're officially going to be launching our Comic Book Click TikTok very, very soon. But yeah, man, we keep pulling up video series while we keep busting our ass to give you guys free of charge. So if you guys want to help us out, consider being a Patreon at patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse, where for as little as 10 cents a day, change in the couch, which ultimately amounts to $3 a month. You can help us afford the hardware and the software that we need to keep providing you guys content free of charge. I always say it like this: if you guys are able to, if I end up getting enough money from Patreon to buy a burrito, then I can work harder on our breakdowns, on our video series, and all that kind of stuff, because I know I don't have to cook. So consider helping us out that way, because we truly want to give you guys the latest and greatest when it comes to comic book media. And we do, I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest things to come to comic book media. It's the same future where the Sentry rips, takes over where the boy takes over in the world. But us, we do become the industry leaders in the things that we talk about, but we're not alone. Because in that same future are the guys over at DirtSheet Radio. And DirtSheet Radio are the industry leaders in all things professional wrestling and pop culture. They are our neighbors over there at ComicBookClique.com. And they are constantly covering the latest and greatest to come to professional wrestling. They do retro reviews. They do post-show reviews of things like Raw, SmackDown, AEW Dynamite, TNA Impact, and more. Every weekend. We've never had more wrestling than now, and so there's never been more Dirt Sheet Radio than now. I always say the Dirt Sheet Radio is always on, and there's always something playing, so just cut that thing on and check out what those guys are doing. They work tirelessly over there. I know Jonathan Escudero, the founder, puts a lot of work and time into the coverage that they go there. They don't like to dabble in gossip and rumors, verified sources, and they like to bring people together. So we work hand in hand at ComicBookClique.com to provide content across the board. We're trying to monopolize this thing, but that doesn't mean that you can't get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. Because like I said, I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic book media. Can't tell you how we do it because it will mess up the timeline. And next thing you know, Dwayne Johnson wants to play Sentry post reboot, post Secret Wars. I think he totally would, because he just thought Black Adam was Black Superman. So I think he would totally want to be the same. He's like a guy goes in and solos the Avengers. Yeah, I want to do that. Don't let them do that. Don't mess up the timeline. Tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast. Join us next week for Sin City that we'll be covering here. And yeah, man, it's always fun here. Obviously, thank you, A-Rob, for joining us, because it's always a blast when we talk about our stuff. But thank everyone for watching live on Facebook, for following the podcast, for following Comic Book Click. We do a lot of work, and sometimes we can get stuck in that little bit of the tunnel vision of the next podcast, the next video series, the next book we got to read, the next movie that's coming out. But ultimately, we do this all for you guys, and we love doing it. So thank you for affording us the opportunity to talk to you guys about the latest and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. A-Rob, if you want the people to find you, where can they find you?
You guys can find me anywhere at A-Rob the Marvel Guide. You also can find me at Twitch at Omega Avenger 26. Follow me on my road to rank. We're trying to get the Grandmaster, y'all. We're trying to get
Gang,
the
gang.
Grandmaster on Marvel Rivals.
And he gonna do it. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. That patch coming out might nerf some people. We may want to check into that. I've been hearing a lot of drama going on over there.
Yeah,
Hashtag save
man.
Jeff. But check out A Rob because he's doing great things over there. He's only know the noobs. But yeah, man, there, you can find us. We outside. We out here. Google major issues. Google comic book click. Go to comicbookclique.com and it'll always be fun. But my name is George Serrano, aka the Don.
And I'm A-Rob the Marvel God.
And this has been Marvel's Siege, issues 1 through 4, recap and review. And remember, whether you're an all-powerful god, a man with just some green paint on his face, or just need to get knocked out by your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, always remember that we are the Clique. And you need to remember that you, yes, you, are worthy. Thanks, guys. The stream has stopped, and now to stop the recording.